find that? It's a 308. No, it's a 708. That's it, 7mm. Did you find it? 7mm 08? Come on, Covey. Don't lose my ammo. Oh, there it is. Good girl. Everybody ought to have an ammo dog, but if you don't, well, maybe we'll have Covey bred and we'll get you some. This is known as the English setter cartridge finding dog. Well, there's one thing everyone knows about dangerous game hunting rifles, and that is you want to use a controlled round feed because it doesn't jam. Well, guess what we've got here? This is a famous controlled round feed Winchester Model 70. And as you can see, we've got 2 rounds trying to go into the chamber at once. Is that even possible? Well, we're going to look into push feeds versus controlled round feeds and show you why the controlled round feed might not necessarily be jam proof. So what's the big deal about controlled round feed actions versus push feed actions? I think to understand it, we need to understand the difference between the two. What I have here is a Mossberg Patriot rifle in .243, and this is a classic push feed like a Remington Model 700 or a Savage 110 and many others. And here's how they work. You load your magazine, and it doesn't really matter what magazine style it is or how you load it, but once you've got your magazine loaded, you push the round out of that magazine with the bottom edge of the bolt face. You see that coming up right there? And that pushes the cartridge out of the magazine and up into the chamber. But if you pull your bolt out before you close it, look what's there. Just a loose cartridge. So you could have that cartridge in the chamber, come back for the second round, pick it up, and it's going nowhere because there's already one in the chamber. That's a jam. You don't want that to happen. So controlled round feed is to prevent it. Let's go to a controlled round feed now and show the difference. All right, now this is a controlled round feed action. It's a Kimber 84M in 7mm 08 Remington. I'm gonna load it and demonstrate how the controlled round feed is supposed to control that cartridge. So you come forward with your bolt. Again, the lower face of that bolt is going to catch the top of the rim of the cartridge, push it out of the magazine. Once it pops out, it gets underneath this claw hook right here. So I can bring it back out now. Or I can put it all the way in the magazine. But if I don't close the bolt handle, same as I did the last time, and I come back, the cartridge is still there. It's controlled. So the idea is you're not gonna leave a cartridge in the chamber and get a jam. But there's a secret to all of these controlled round feed actions, at least the ones we're going to test today. And there is a way to get them jammed. So if I come all the way out with this thing, and then start going back forward, I've got a jam. What happened? I didn't come back far enough to eject the round. So this problem has to do with bolt travel and the ejector. We're going to show you exactly how that works. First, we're going to remove this bolt to show you how, in addition to cleaning the darn thing, this is how it works. There's your controlled round feed. This claw gets underneath that. It gets the rim of the cartridge hooked in there, and that's what holds it in place. There's your controlled round feed that prevents you from pulling or leaving the cartridge in the chamber if you pull the bolt out like this without closing it. And that's the whole idea of, well, it's controlled all the way, so you shouldn't have a problem getting any kind of a jam. You're not leaving one in the chamber to jam a second round, but we just saw it get jammed. How did that happen? Well, maybe before I load it, I'm going to show you what's back here. See, I got the jam already. And here's why. Jam up and jelly tight. All right, here's the first one. It comes out, and if I don't come all the way back to snap it out like that, it's going to pick both of them up. And here's why. I don't know if you can see in there, but you see that blade right there? That's what kicks it off the face. You've got a little groove. You see the groove inside of the bolt face right there? That slides over, and once you bring that cartridge to that ejector blade, you kick it off. But if you fail to kick it off, here goes. I'm now right up against the blade. So if I pull back on the bolt, that's how it kicks off. Now the question is, are all controlled round feeds equal? Probably not. But this is kind of a classic here. This is the Model 70, short action, chambered in a 6mm Remington. And it uses that same system. If I pull a bolt out, you will see there's our big extractor hook. The cartridge will get slipped up underneath that. You seeing that? So it's now controlled by the hook, not falling off, and that should do the trick. But again, there's your ejector blade, and that's what we have to slide over. So I will push this in, come back, hit that blade, and pow, knocks it off. Now let's just load things up the proper way and see if we can jam it. So let's load 1 in the magazine, 2 in the magazine. That's enough to show us what's going to happen. I pick my first round up, I lock it in the battery, pretend I shot, I'm coming back for my next shot, I get excited, I don't come back all the way. Oh, I did come back all the way. Great, that's the way the system is supposed to work. Can we jam it up by not bringing that bolt completely back to knock that round off? I bet we can, but we'll have to be careful to do it. And this is why this is probably not a real problem. So I've come back just to where I'm touching that ejector blade. Yep, right there, I felt that snap. Now I come forward, look at that. I've picked up that second round. And we do have a jam. But again, what are the chances of that happening in the real world and the excitement? I think you're probably going to come back well far enough to throw that first round out so you don't get a jam. But that's the short action Model 70. Let's try a long action 30-06 in that. And I know that's going to jam because that's the one I started this show with. So here's the 30-06, a classic, controlled round feed, Model 70. 1 down, 1 on top of it, coming forward, chambering 1 round, kapowie, I shot, I missed my animal, I'm coming back from my next shot. If I don't do it aggressively, I've got a jam. That can be a pretty stiff jam too. But if I come all the way back, I've cleared and then I can finish. That's worth trying again. I wonder if that would work every time. In other words, you got a jam, but you can come back and clear that jam with a brisk return. So we pick that first round up. It's held by the claw extractor. I come back. Nope, I didn't get it under the claw. I'll be darned. Let's try that again. Okay, so I pick up my first round. It's on the... I come back just to where I can feel the ejector blade. Right there, felt the click, come forward, I've got a jam. Now imagine if I were hunting, I would make it a pretty hard jam, coming forward and getting all excited and really pushing on it. Can I come back and clear that? Off goes the 1 round, in goes the second. I can. So I think it's fairly easily cured, but it can jam. And once again, I just can't imagine a hunter in his excitement not coming back hard. And that's the issue, back hard. With the push feed, remember, let's pick that up. The problem is not closing the bolt. You can ram it forward as hard as you want and back as hard as you want. If you don't close the bolt, you're not picking that round up. You're not locking it behind the hook. Now let's go back to the face of this bolt again and show how that works. Let me put this rifle down. I'm just gonna lean it in the corner here. With no bolt in it, it's perfectly safe. Now look at how that head will hold this round. Right here, that is the hook, the extractor hook that holds the rim of the cartridge. It gets snapped in there. When you push forward, it snaps into position. But this plunger right here, that little thing moves in and out. It's called a plunger ejector. It is always putting pressure on this cartridge to shove it that way, which is out of the port of the gun. So while you're in the chamber, you're fine. You slide back, and as soon as this brass clears the chamber or the receiver ring in the front, that plunger throws it off, as long as it's underneath that hook right there. But of course, if you let go right now, it falls because it's not a controlled round feed. And then here is your problem. Right now, it's my problem. if I come forward and don't completely close it, short stroke the bolt that way and come back, the round is still in the chamber. I have to completely close this to snap it over it before that hook will catch it. And probably even, there we go, see? You've got to turn that bolt in. Sometimes you could snap it hard enough that it'll pick it. Nope, there it is. There's the problem. Short stroking like that results in you picking up a second round and jamming it into the one that's already up in the chamber. So in the real world, how often does this happen? I don't know. It happened to me one time with a Mauser controlled round feed action. I did not come back far enough to eject the empty round. I had shot a kudu, my first shot, and I quickly cycled. Because I was using a full-length Magnum action, it has a longer bolt stroke than your typical long action, 30-06 length, and of course a lot more than your short action. And I had mostly shot short actions and long actions, not very often full-length Magnum actions. And in my excitement, I did not bring that bolt back far enough. I came just to that point where it would give me a jam, and I got one. Fortunately, my first shot was perfect right on the heart, and the animal fell over in short order. But that was a real-world scenario in which I screwed up and got a jam on a controlled round feed action where it's not supposed to jam. So here is kind of the classic cartridge or rifle chambered for a cartridge that really would be of concern for a dangerous game rifle. 375 H&H. And this is our belted Magnum. This is a Dakota Model 97. This is one of the more higher end controlled round feed rifles that a lot of African hunters would want to use. Let's see if that will do the short stroke business too. I come forward, I don't close the bolt, and as advertised, it brings it out. Close, don't close your bolt handle, come back, you've brought that round out. Great, should prevent any kind of problem. Throws it off when I come back, not even very hard, just enough to hit that ejector blade, pick my second round up, I'm in business. Good, that's the way it's supposed to work. Is it possible to jam this with some poor workmanship on my side? Forward, close bolt, fire my shot, come back, get excited, don't come back all the way. Let's just be real gentle here. I've already picked up that second round. Look at that. I've got a jam, guys. Now I'm squeezing over the top of it because I didn't come very far out of that magazine, but now this time I did. Once again, I'm going over and yeah, really jammed bad now. Can I clear it? Yes, I can clear it. So, let me pick this round off the ground, wipe it off. We have now looked at 2, 3, 4 controlled on feed actions. Have we looked at this one yet? This one is really different. We're going to look at that. Our 5th example. This is a controlled round feed action that is different from the ones with the external claw extractor on it, the Mauser style. You look at this and you'll think, well, you've got another push feed, but notice there's not a plunger ejector in it. It is not a complete encased head style bolt. It does have a slot for the standing ejector blade in the back to ride through. So it looks to me like it does the same thing as the Winchesters and this Dakota and the Kimber, but it doesn't have that big hooked claw out here. What's going on with that? This is the hook that holds the rim of the cartridge. Let me find my cartridges for this one. This one is a 6mm CM for those of you who don't like to hear the word. This guy. So when it picks a round up out of the magazine, it gets underneath that hook, same as if you had the big blade on it. But of course it's not a blade. So it's kind of a hybrid. And even though it's open on the bottom, it's not falling off because the hook is holding it. So this is a controlled round feed. The cartridge snaps underneath the extractor hook and is held there. So if we put this guy in and we don't come all the way back, well, I got to have another round in the magazine to see if this is going to happen. So let's put one down. and the other one on top. We pick up the first one. We don't close our bolt. We come back. Can we pick up the second one? Felt the click. There it is. This one jams as well. I think it's probably inevitable. I wish I had a Mauser 98. I couldn't find anybody who'd loan me a Mauser 98 around here. But I'm going to guess it has the same issues, but that's what started all this controlled round feed stuff. Way back in 1898, Peter Paul Mauser came up with his Model 98, which was considered like the ultimate bolt-action rifle. And it is a beauty for a lot of grand reasons, but I believe it's got the same ejector system as this, and I'll bet you if you've got that little degree right there where you get past the back of the cartridges in the magazine so that that bolt face can pick them up. And again, let me pull this out and show how that would happen. So you're sliding over the tap of the cartridge in the magazine, and all you have to do is just get that much of the lip, right like that, on the back of that cartridge, right there. So if your first cartridge is in the hook and riding back over the top of the other one, and you just get there before the blade knocks that one off the face, that's how you get two of them jammed. You've got to get this one knocked off first. You've got to come back far enough through that ejector slot so that your top one gets knocked off. Then you'll be fine. So that's the evidence I was compiling. I got to admit, I can't imagine too many folks not coming back fully, but the fact that I did it on that kudu years ago in Africa with that Mauser 98 tells me that it can definitely happen with virtually everyone that I've tested. Now, if any of you have tested this at home or you have a controlled round feed action that will absolutely not do that, I'd sure like to hear about it. But like I said, I've tried the Winchesters, the Dakotas. I had it happen with a Mauser 98. Now, it was not an original Mauser 98. This was sort of a replica, somebody who took the blueprints or whatever and made their own version. And there are quite a few of those have been made, and they're usually excellent. But I just think it's inherent in that whole system of having that bolt with that groove underneath for the ejector blade to slide through that turns that trick. So I guess the upshot is nothing is foolproof. These are machines, they're tools, and there are generally ways to make them malfunction. But if you're doing your job and operating them properly, shouldn't be a problem. So what's it going to be for you? Push feed action or controlled round feed action? Well, as I've shown, either one of them can jam up for you. But I think your chances are a lot better with a controlled round feed, and I think that's why most African professional hunters use them, insist on them, especially for dangerous game. But if you're not dangerous game hunting and you're not too worried about having a jam, you should be able to get by with either one of them. But it's important to understand how this stuff works and know how you are supposed to work it so that you don't ever get a jam. And then I think you'll be in fine shape. Hey, I'm Ron Spomer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hunt honest and shoot straight.